When we look up at the night sky, we usually think of history's greatest triumphs. We picture giant leaps for mankind, towering rockets, and astronauts smiling in silver suits. But if you look closely into the early dawn of the space age, you'll find that the road to the stars was built on quiet, tragic sacrifices. And there is no story in the history of space exploration quite as heartbreaking or as profoundly moving as the story of a small 3-year-old stray dog from the streets of Moscow. Her name was Laika. Today I want to tell you her story, where she came from, how she captured the heart of an empire, and the tragic mistake that sealed her fate, and how her lonely journey changed her relationship with cosmos forever. Long before she ever rode a fiery pillar into the sky, Laika was just a nobody. That's kind of rude of me to say, but it is true. She was a 3-year-old mongrel, part terrier, part Samoyed, wandering the freezing, slush-covered streets of Moscow in the 1950s. The Soviet scientists specifically searched for strays. Their logic was simple. If a bit harsh, if a dog could survive a brutal Russian winter with almost no food or shelter, she was tough enough to handle the stresses of spaceflight. Astronomical difference, I just want that to be known. Astronomical differences. You're talking about freezing cold winter and an everlasting sky. A never-ending sky. With a chance of never coming back, exploding, dying, etc., etc. They picked her up off the street and brought her into the secret world of the Soviet space program. Initially, they named her, I'm going to say this wrong, I'm going to butcher it real badly, Kudryayevka. I think I said that terrible, which means little curly, but because of her loud, confident bark, the technician soon gave her the name the whole world would eventually know, Laika, the barker. She's among all the test dogs, Laika stood out. She wasn't just resilient. She was a remarkable, gentle, calm, under pressure, and sweet-natured. The Soviet scientists loved her. In fact, just days before her launch, one of the lead medical scientists, Dr. Vladimir Yazdovsky, did something heartbreakingly human. He took Laika home to his house to play with his children. Decades later, Dr. Yazdovsky wrote in his memoirs, Laika was quiet and charming. I wanted to do something nice for her. She had so little time left to live. It was late 1957. The Cold War was burning hot. The space race was in overdrive. USSR Premier Nikita Khrushchev wanted a spectacular space demonstration to mark the 40th anniversary of the Bolshevik Revolution. The deadline was insanely tight. They had less than a month to build a spacecraft. In that frantic rush, the engineers built Sputnik 2. It was a miracle of engineering for its time, but it had one fatal flaw. There was no technology yet invented to bring a spacecraft safely back down through Earth's atmosphere. Everyone in the top secret bunker knew the truth. Whoever or whatever went up in Sputnik 2 was never coming back. On November 3rd, 1957, at the Baikonur Cosmodrome, Laika was strapped into a tiny padded cabin equipped with an oxygen generator, a fan, and a container of gelatinized food. Before they sealed the hatch, one of the technicians kissed her on the nose and wished her a safe journey. Knowing full well he was looking at her for the last time, the engines roared to life. As the rocket tore through the atmosphere, sensors attached to Laika recorded what was happening inside her tiny body. Her heart rate skyrocketed to nearly 3 times its normal resting rate, over 240 beats per minute. She was terrified. The noise, the violent shaking, the crushing G-forces pressed down on her tiny frame. And then, total silence. Microgravity. Floating in orbit, Laika began to calm down. Her heart rate slowly started to drop. For a few brief hours, a living creature from Earth was floating high above the blue planet, looking down at the void of space. For decades, the Soviet government told the world that Laika lived peacefully in orbit for 4 or 5 days, eventually eating poisoned food to spare her from a slow death. That was a lie. It wasn't until 2002, 45 years later, that the true agonizing story was revealed by Dr. Dmitry Malashnikov. I'm so sorry, I can't see these names right. It's all Russian. One of the scientists behind the mission. During the launch, thermal insulation panel tore away from the rocket core. The cabin's cooling fan couldn't keep up. Within hours of reaching orbit, the temperature inside Laika's cabin spiked to over 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Trapped in a tiny metal box surrounded by dark space, Laika died of extreme heat exhaustion and stress roughly 5 to 7 hours after liftoff. Sputnik 2 continued to orbit the Earth 2,570 times, a quiet metallic tube carrying the tiny dog, before finally burning up in the Earth's atmosphere 5 months later on April 14, 1958. It's easy to look back at Laika's story and feel only anger or profound sadness, and it is very tragic. But her story doesn't end in that dark cabin. What came after changed the world. Laika's death shocked the conscience of international science. It ignited a global debate about the ethics of using animals in space research. Because of the tragedy of Sputnik 2, engineers vowed never again. That the Soviet engineers swore that no animal would ever be sent into space again without a clear, functional plan for safe retrieval. Less than 3 years later, in 1960, 2 dogs named Belka and Strelka were launched into orbit and brought back alive. Strelka even went on to have a litter of puppies, one of which was gifted to U.S. President John F. Kennedy. Laika proved that a complex living mammal could survive the launch, the G-forces, and the weightlessness of space. Without our data, Yuri Gagarin could have never become the first human in space in 1961. Years later, Oleg Gazinko, one of the senior scientists who trained Laika, stood before a crowd and publicly voiced the regret that many felt in their hearts. Work with the animals is a source of suffering to all of us. We treat them like babies who cannot speak. The more time passes, the more I'm sorry about it. We shouldn't have done it. We did not learn enough from this mission to justify the death of the dog. Today, if you visit the Military Medical Institute in Moscow, you will find a small monument. It features a rocket blending into a human hand, and resting gently inside that hand is a bronze statue of a small, attentive dog looking up at the sky. Laika never understood geopolitics. She didn't care about the space race, propaganda, or scientific prestige. She was just a street dog who had trusted the humans who fed her. She remains the ultimate pioneer of the space age, a humble stray from Moscow who reached the stars long before we did, leaving behind a legacy that taught us not only how to explore the heavens, but how to be more humane right here on Earth. To Laika the dog, thank you. Thank you for your sacrifice. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more just like this one, go ahead and subscribe. And until next time, my bamboos, I'll catch you all in the next video.